What is going on, guys? It is Adam aka Marf, and today's show is going to be packed. We're going to talk about everything that has transpired in the last 24 hours. We have some breaking news as well, and storms on the way for sure. So stick around. We'll be right back right after this with your live show. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf. Today's show is going to be packed, so stick around. We have a ton here, and just a reminder for anyone who is new or just subscribed, you can actually follow along with today's show over on our website. When you go to marfooglenews.com, not only can you sign up for our email alerts and for notifications. Again, the notifications that come from the platforms are not as reliable. This is a guaranteed notification from us. You can also go and follow along. We have taken the time before every single episode to make sure that we have every single article, tweet, video, picture that we show you here today will be bibliographed over on our website. When you go there, you'll see not only all of our sources and everything that, of course, now you know where exactly we're getting these stories from, but on top of that, you'll be able to go back and even use our search bar to actually go back retrospectively through our shows. Now, as you go down, you'll see there's a yellow bar. That's web-only content, the stuff that's too hot for TV, too far to one direction for us to cover, neutral. Again, that's also down there. That stuff is basically a trigger warning for sure down there. And then on our right side, if you do want to support us, several people over the last month have done PayPal and had a quote read out on screen. That way you are supporting us and getting your, of course, your message heard. And then on the right side is our affiliates. So any of those boxes lead to basically companies we believe in, and that essentially when you buy something from them, not only will you get a discount in most cases, you'll also be helping our show. We are independent. We don't have a multi-channel network or even a multi-billion-dollar company. We have the Mafia, we have you, and of course we have our will and of course our resilience. So let's bring in Dex. Dex James is my co-host / internet brother. He'll also be managing the website and updating live during the show. So if there's any breaking news, we'll be adding that to marfooglenews.com as well. Dex, what is going on and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, do you want to, again, usually I would just go in right into the new one, first story here, but I believe we are taking calls today, right? Or are we not?
No, the phones are not on right now.
Okay, so just so you guys know, we've had issues with the phones, and we are trying to fix it. We are trying to get again the phone system worked out. Usually we have a phone tree at 224-400 Marf, so that will not be open today. We thought we might be doing it right before the show, but again, the lines will be closed. A lot of software companies are doing a lot of weird stuff, and I don't know if it's related to CV and privacy stuff, but it is just absolutely insane, the amount of changes that have happened in the last 6 months. So we'll get right into the news. Of course, massive, unusual December storm to spawn widespread damaging winds, even tornadoes in the plains. Now, of course, unusual weather has been kind of the norm. In fact, unusual has been normal for the last 5 years, at least in my memory. Even last year, we had a tornado here next to Seattle, or maybe it was 2 years ago. It was a large tornado that actually ripped the roof off of a house, and the kid playing a video game, looked up and his roof was gone. This is something that's normal in the Midwest. It is so incredibly unusual here next to Seattle. It was about 30 minutes outside of Seattle, which is just absolutely bonkers. But a lot of people say that they believe that either the world is changing or people's priorities or people's agendas are changing. It says intensifying low pressure will track from out of the plains to the Great Lakes into early Thursday. That low itself will generate a widespread risk of damaging winds across a large part of the central U.S., including many areas that won't see severe thunderstorm. It says the upper Midwest is where that low pressure system will overlap enough moisture to produce severe weather. Areas from northern Missouri and far eastern Nebraska into much of Iowa, southern Minnesota, and western Wisconsin have the greatest chance to see severe thunderstorms late Wednesday afternoon into the evening hours. A line of storms should develop on the western edge of the severe weather risk, areas shown below, and then rapidly charge eastward towards the upper Mississippi Valley. Damaging wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour and a few tornadoes are possible in those areas, especially in the areas shaded darker red and purple. A few spots could even see stronger wind gusts up to 100 miles per hour. Now, as you can see here, there's some pretty extreme storm systems coming in. It's not going to be fun, so I'm praying for all of the Fugel family there. I have family in Sioux City, Omaha, and Kirksville, so I am praying for them as well. There have been just so many weird storms in the last 2 years, especially in the last 2 years, that it's almost easy for most people to believe that something is definitely changing all around us, whether that be the planet or agendas. Thank you, Nika Taka or Nika Talaka. Thank you so much for your support early on in the show. Texicali74, before the show even started, it says, watch The Chosen or watch The Cozen or Kosen. You will not regret it. I hope you didn't. I'll try both. The Cozen or The Chosen. I would think that would be The Chosen, but I will try looking it up. And then I always take your suggestions. I've found some great movies. I found some great YouTubers from the comments. It's absolutely, you guys are genius. Just found a channel called Pinball Preparedness the other day. He's really good. I thought he was incredibly smart, and he seems like he's got his head on his shoulder, and he doesn't have some sort of crazy something behind it, right? Victoria G, Scott R. Hubbard, Diane Moses, thank you so much. Spartan O Negative, thank you again for the support even before the show started. And then Bible Talk for Common People. Adam, I did a 2-minute video if you want to see, but look into the Roth kids and the Coro Nation Delta Force One and the Omi Islands in Antarctica, too big to be a coincidence. I will look at that, and actually I think I know what you're talking about. I might talk about it in a future show. Thank you for doing the filter there. I appreciate that. So as far as this goes, lots of crazy weather. And then Dex, do you have, I know you had some comments earlier before this.
Yeah. So some of this has started already. So those that are out there, we had this big storm that went through a couple days ago. Nobody expected it. And here we have this again. So, it's strange times that we're living in. So take the warnings seriously, is all I could say. When you sort of, people would think, this doesn't really happen this time of season, right? But it's already been proven that it does. And it happens in a big bad way. And how it's getting there is pretty questionable.
Also, the folks that have been watching the radars have been finding some weird stuff. I highly recommend going to the chat and just asking if you know any good radar YouTubers. I bet you there's a lot of good suggestions down there, and they will tell you which direction to go. Because there's a lot of weird stuff that's being found. Einstein proven right again. Study of extreme stars confirms theory of general relativity. It says that chalk up another win for the famous theoretical physicist Albert Einstein, a 16-year experiment which tried to challenge Einstein's theory of general relativity has come to a not-so-surprisingly conclusion. It says Einstein was right all along. What makes that result shocking, however, is the fact that an international team of scientists confirmed the theory using objects in space that Einstein didn't even know existed at the time of his breakthrough. Specifically, the team studied a pair of extreme stars using 7 deep space radio telescopes to examine how gravity affects the fabric of space and time. It says these stars, called pulsars, are actually part of a rare double pulsar star system, with one of the stars spinning at about 44 times per second, and its companion star rotating about 3 times per second. Study authors say that the motion of those 2 pulsars around each other makes this one of the most precise tests of gravity ever completed. A pulsar is a highly magnetized, rotating compact star that emits beams of electromagnetic radiation out of its magnetic poles. That was Dr. Robert Ferdman of the University of East Anglia in a release. It says they weigh more than our sun, but they are only about 15 miles across. So they are incredibly dense objects that produce radio beams that sweep like the sky like a lighthouse. Despite not knowing the existence of pulsars in the cosmos or having deep space telescopes to measure gravitational forces in space, the study finds that Einstein's 100-year-old theory predicted the team's observations with near perfect accuracy. Now, one thing people have questioned, Dex, do you know the history of why people started questioning the relativity theory and this whole thing? Like, why in the last 15 years they questioned it? Do you know what the basis of that is?
No, I'm not well versed when it comes to theoretical physicists and what they study, but I've heard a lot of these things have been challenged, and a lot of them have been challenged just because they are theories, right? And the whole point is it's a theory, and until it's disproven, it's not a fact. It just remains a theory, and then people start testing the theory. This is kind of interesting, though, that they've done this, over a 16-year period to try to either prove or disprove. So this does help, the theory become more reality and less theory, right?
Well, at the same time, I bet critics would say, well, they're proving it with something in space, which we can't actually see what is happening. Do you see my point as far as like, what if, just hypothetically, what if they were like, well, we need to squash any dissent on this theory, so we'll prove it with something that people essentially can't disprove. No one that I know has been to space, of course. Again, I think that argument won't end until everybody is able to go up to space and see for themselves. I know that sure. Big percentage. By the way, did you know that I did a survey of our audience, and it was like out of something like 6,000 votes, we had 20 or 30% say that they believed in, say, the planes, right? If you get my meaning.
Oh, yeah. No, I know what you mean.
So that means a lot of the folks that watch, again, would question this. So that's pretty
right. So
pretty amazing.
80%, yeah. So 80% would think that this is legit, and 20% would say, no, I don't buy into not even into the theory, but just into the ability to use the test that they used against the theory, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, interesting find from that same survey, the fourth option was, I think I might be an alien. That actually got about 30%. So, JFK assassination files released, but President B is hiding some in a, quote, cover-up. New files regarding the of President John F. Kennedy have been released. While some in the files were released today, more secrets will be unveiled again on the same date next year. It's kind of weird how they did that. It says the U.S. President John Fitzgerald Kennedy was taken out in Dallas on November 22nd, 1963, as he traveled in a motorcade through the Dealey Plaza. Shortly after, Lee Harvey Oswald, a 24-year-old self-proclaimed Marfoogle, was arrested in a nearby cinema after police hunted of one of their fellow officers. He denied taking out anybody, claiming to reporters that he was a patsy. Later, he was accused of the president dead with his $21 mail-order rifle from a window of a 6th floor of a nearby school textbook warehouse. It said that 2 days after the had taken place and his arrest, as Oswald was being escorted from Dallas police headquarters to a country prison in front of the world's media, a man named Jack Ruby stepped forward and boomed him down. Ruby was later found guilty of booming him and sentenced to perish, which is pretty nuts considering that it's kind of funky that even back then, it's like obviously the first guy who they accused, and everyone had so much love for this president back then. I mean, Dex, I wasn't alive then, and you were probably really young if you were even alive. Most people loved him, right? As far as a president, most people liked him. He had a good approval rating. Everybody, I mean, people cried. People were very touched by his death.
Oh yeah, for sure. And no, I was not alive. I was about 11 years before I was born. But yeah, so this information that's coming out, I don't think it's really insightful. But what's insightful is that there's still more to come. In other words, he's holding back certain things that may be a little bit more telling, and they're worried about and/or potentially redacting more things to prevent that from being as telling as it can be.
Well, my point
they did
was,
do a study in the 70s and ruled out that the 3-letter agency was involved. But when I say they is the government, ruled out that their government agency wasn't involved. So it's sort of the, fox guarding the hen house, so to speak.
Well, more so, what kind of my point though was that everybody loved him, and then the first guy that was accused, which is Oswald, you would think that it's kind of extreme that they took out Ruby, when you would think in the eyes of the people that since Ruby took out this guy Oswald that took out their beloved president, that they would be favorable towards Ruby, that he took out a bad man that everybody hated because they took their favorite president. But of course, Ruby, I don't think is there any question? Of course, did Ruby really get put to death? Did he end up going into witness protection? Was he CIA? There's all these kind of theories around it. And of course, JFK, we talked about some of the new stuff that came out in the last couple of years. As far as JFK apparently had some bedtime talk or pillow talk with Marilyn Monroe. And Marilyn Monroe once was supposedly set on stage or on set of a show or something. She essentially said that he was talking and told her about, wasn't it aliens? Like that they had some sort of encounter with aliens. And then that was always a rumor. But then later on, just more recently, someone came out and said that she really did say that on the stage. And that's shortly before she passed away. So, I mean, there's just a whole bunch of just weird stuff around this president. And most young people don't realize how filled with scandal our country has always been. I mean, there's always been something that is just so incredibly questionable. Plus the use of acid and all this other stuff that was involved. I'm not remembering exactly what I read the first time around, but when they released stuff during T-Man's presidency, there was some interesting stuff in there. So we'll see, and we'll cover the kind of the new stuff that comes out as it does, or if it does, and especially we might have to wait until next year to find out more.
Yeah, and just from my recollection, I think Ruby was supposed to have a second trial, and died before that happened. I think it was cancer or something like that.
Just weird stuff. And the fact that the first guy who said he was a patsy, when you watch those actual videos, it took me years to actually watch the videos of him in the hallways talking to the media. And let me ask you this. Do you believe him when he says he was a patsy? In fact, for those that know, Answer this. Do you believe that Oswald was a patsy? Press 1. If you believe that he really was the guy who took him out with a mail order rifle from like 1,000 feet away or whatever it was, press 2. And I don't mean to be biased on that, but if you have done more research on it and you know, press 2 if you don't think, or if you do think that he did it. So 1 if you think he was a patsy and he was set up. 2 if you think that he did it. And I'll turn on the chat box so we can see the majority of this, especially the replay watchers, so you can tell where people's minds are at. Unique Genetics, thank you so much for your support. Armor of God, cash tag app, God Love TLCC, LLC. Love your show, longtime listener, tlgshop.com, Christians helping Christians. Hey, I will check that out. I am super pumped to find it. Lady Vixen, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for subscribing. Look at all these ones. He was a patsy. That's straight up. Definitely one. Look at all those ones. That's incredible.
I only saw 1, 2. I've been watching.
And, you know, we do this on a regular basis, probably at least once a show now, and you never see that many in agreement. So that's pretty big. John Jace is 1, CIA. Yeah. Think about all the stuff.
More threes. More threes than 2s, and there's not even a 3.
I guess what would 3 be like? Just don't know. Kim Edwards. Oh my gosh. Kim Edwards and EMP Shield. EMP Shield. Hey. So Andrew from EMP Shield. I'm assuming it's Andrew. If it's not, it's one of the other staff members there. Thank you. So just so you guys know, EMP Shield actually watches and Andrew does, and Andrew's part of this community. Andrew has his side thing. He actually has his own channel that does all sorts of prepper stuff. And again, Andrew is literally a part of this community. So they're not just like a side company that we affiliate with. Before they even had all these government contracts and stuff, they were part of this community. The makers, the founders, everybody a part of it is part of this actual community. So it's really, really cool. Thank you, EMP Shield. You don't have to do that. Thank you, and thank you. Thanks for the massive support. Andrew actually comes in himself and supports us regardless of what's going on. So thank you. That's huge. EMP Shield, thank you. And then Kim Edwards, big thank you. Thank you guys for supporting independent. Again, you know, we don't have the same traditional kind of setup that other channels do, as far as especially with the algorithm and with the platform. So thank you guys for supporting us. Joseph Newhouse, hey, I made that video and briefly included the tornado, a black light clip from Twisted Luck Truth and the Matrix Awakens video that Dex referenced. Oh yeah, and I used a Marfoogle jam. Hey, thanks, Joseph. And that's awesome. Again, my music is always, you can use that if anybody needs it, but it's just simple loops. I do it, in fact, to avoid all of the copyrights. So again, that's why we kind of started doing it, other than the shoutro. And then Nika Talaka, thank you again. Dustin Layton. If you haven't checked out a channel on YouTube called Jason A, you definitely should. Been subscribed for 6 years. Very deep and very eye-opening. So I actually think that that's a good channel too. I think that he was hit or something by something, because that channel is huge. He does really good compilations of all the weird things that happen. He's definitely a really dedicated editor. I would assume that he gets hit by like copyrights every episode. And so if there was a way, I think I tried to support him once, because I realized once I stepped on this side of it, how he probably doesn't make anything by doing some of those. Again, thank you for the suggestion. And I've been subscribed for like 10 years. I don't know, as long as he's been on there. And then we'll cover that again. In 2017, former Prez DT released several thousand secret files on the nation, but withheld others on national security grounds. It's like, what really happened there? I don't think the answer will truly be answered. And even if it does, even if they gave us all the information on JFK, people wouldn't believe it. So moving on, before we get to U.S. Airlines warned that the 5th generation of could cause havoc with flights. I do want to remind you right now, EMP Shield, which again, thank you for supporting, has a special right now. In fact, they have a sale going on. So I just want to remind you, go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. I really appreciate Andrew coming and supporting separately. Again, he would do that regardless. He did before, in fact. So again, make sure to go check these guys out. Right now they have their Christmas sale going on. So when you end up going over there, not only do you get our grandfathered in $50 discount, you end up getting it stacked on top of their Christmas sale. So if you want to get multiple devices, one to protect your generator, one to protect your home, one to protect your car, your RV, your motorcycle, even your ham radio, they make a device for everything, and protect it against all three phases of an EMP and a CME, then make sure to go over to marfooglenewscom/EMP. It's not only a veteran-owned business, it's 100% American-made. In the very beginning, they were handmade, each individual one in Kansas. They have grown quite a bit. In fact, at one point, when they got all of their government contracts with agencies like DOD and DHS, and of course, they're now on the DEMSO team, we didn't even know if they were going to continue selling to civilians. But they actually did the reverse of that. They are gung-ho on getting one in every home in America and around the world. If we did, we would not have any kind. I don't think we would even have a EMP threat if everyone had this. In fact, the more that they put, the better secure that we are. So make sure to protect yourself if you don't want to be stuck somewhere in your car after an EMP or multiple EMPs, or a CME, which again, a CME is guaranteed. It happens every 150 years on average. It's been 160. So we're overdue for a natural Carrington level event, which again, we're not exactly prepared for. And now society has electronics, computers, internet, infrastructure, all tied to it. So go to marfooglenews.com/EMP, save upwards of $100 depending on how many you get, but you'll guaranteed get that $50 off plus $20 off with the Christmas sale. All right, thank you. And Andrew, thanks for stopping by. And then let's see here. U.S. Airlines warn wireless could cause havoc with flights. And so that should say something, by the way. It says major U.S. air carriers warned on Wednesday that plans by AT&T and Verizon to use Spectrum for the fifth generation could be highly disruptive to air travel and cost air passengers $1.6 billion annually in delays. Trade Group Airlines for America, or A4A, said if a new Federal Aviation Administration, or the FAA, directive for addressing potential interference from wireless transmission had been in effect in 2019, approximately 345,000 passenger flights, 32 million passengers, and 5,400 cargo flights would have been impacted in the form of delayed flights, diversions, or cancellations. The wireless carriers are set to begin using Spectrum in just 3 weeks. So this is kind of a trip because a lot of people don't realize that this is kicking over and we're going to have a ton more of this going all around us. It says last week the FAA issued new airworthiness directives warning interference from this new generation of Spectrum could result in flight diversions. The aviation industry and the FAA have raised significant concerns about potential interference of the fifth, right, with sensitive aircraft electronics like radio altimeters. In November, AT&T and Verizon agreed to delay the commercial launch of C-band wireless service until January 5th. After the FAA raised concerns, they also adopted precautionary measures for 6 months to limit interference. Dex, this is kind of huge because, why are they so concerned about it? Obviously, it is so strong and it's so much there that it's going to cause this havoc in airlines. How can something like this be a good thing?
Yeah, I really want to know what the actual interference would be. You know, as a former frequent flyer, in going through the older days of cellular technology, I remember, how certain phones and certain phone bands would cause interference on the plane, so they would force us not to use them, and they still do to this day. I think you can use them on the tarmac, but you're not supposed to use them during takeoff and landing because they can interfere with the equipment. It's interesting to note that, that's been the case for a long time. So what kind of interference are they talking about now? Is it obviously it sounds like it's something more significant and larger. So kind of scary.
Yeah. And the fact that it's so strong that it would interfere this amount of flights and what's going on, it makes you think. So That is
But it's
something.
also short too, right? It also doesn't travel very far. So it seems to me like if it was a problem, near airports, and then you don't put it near airports, right? And maybe what they're complaining is the fact that it is all over airports. I don't know. That's a great the great thing is to understand what is the interference they're talking about. Otherwise, are they just screaming to scream?
Well, so I took video, and it's really touchy to talk about this. I'll just say it's hypothetically possible. We saw one of the new, very short, stubby towers that was placed at a hospital. And I have proof of this with pictures, so I'm not worried about anybody, saying it's BS. There was these outside of the hospital. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but just like in middle schools and high schools, they had a covered walkway. They had multiple buildings. In fact, this was at, I want to say, not Highline, Valley Medical Center in Bothell or Renton, I think. It was Valley Medical Center, and they had these metal walkways. And it was connecting all of the buildings and the nurses and doctors and stuff. And it was actually right by where the doctors park. The doctors park in front of this thing, and then the doctors park in behind. All that parking in front of this walkway was reserved for doctors and people and staff. So that way they could park close and get right into the building. Well, I noticed that during the transition of this stuff, they put in a short, probably 4 foot tall by 5 or 6 feet wide thing. And it was like maybe 10 feet up. It was on top of this walkway, and the walkway had a normal height roof, and it was just a steel kind of cover for them to walk between buildings. They put it there, and there was 2 trees. One of the trees that was very close, about 3, the entire left side was completely, all of the bark had fallen off and just completely worn away. I noticed this. I took pictures, and I even said something, and I posted it. And then within a month, that was taken down, and all of a sudden it was magically gone, and the tree started growing back. So they must have public information about like how close they can be to like plants or something. I'm just questioning if that. I guess allegedly, I think my personal opinion. This is only my opinion. Is that left side of the tree, that was done from some sort of waves of something. Because it wasn't burnt, there was no fire, it was just brown, and the bark was gone on one side. And it was pretty clear. And then even the whole tree wasn't dead, it was just a circle around it. So I wonder if there's different rules that are going to come out and where they can put these things. You guys get what I'm saying. Federal regulators will make food supply chain shortages worse. This is actually out of Forbes. It says the Environmental Protective Agency, or the EPA, just issued a regulatory proposal that would exacerbate already alarming levels of food inflation. Even worse, it will strain the food supply chain, making it more difficult for Americans to find basic products on grocery store shelves. So just to break down that first part, it's going to be harder to find basic foods. So this is another reason people need to start prepping and start having backup food and supplying, because the price is only going to go up. It says presumably that's not regulators' intent, of course, but it will be the result. So how does this seemingly unrelated climate policy regulation affect the food supply chain? By promoting soybean oil as a feedstock for biofuels. Federal law currently requires manufacturers to blend a certain percentage of biofuels into the nation's fuel supply. EPA officials have mandated a more than 12% increase to next year's, quote, renewable volume obligation, or RVO, and the RVO is essentially the quota for the volume of biodegradable fuels, such as vegetable oils and animal fats, that must be blended into the nation's diesel fuel supply. It says the biodiesel fuel used to power trucks shares a common precursor ingredient with thousands of foods, from bread to salad dressing. And of course, that ingredient is vegetable oil, specifically soybean oil. Soybean oil is the most widely used cooking oil in the country. It accounts for 52% of the edible oils used in the United States every year and 7% of the total calories Americans consume. The health profile, domestic availability, and existing standard recipe formulations make soy oil a preferred ingredient in a food production facility. It says the cost of soybean oil has fallen from its recent highs, but it remains nearly double its pre-price despite historically high forecasts for U.S. soybean crop yields. Prices are rising at the same time supply is expanding. It must be the case that demand is growing at an even faster rate. So one thing here is that they're requiring this to have so much more, and then they're going to take that key ingredient, which I'm actually shocked that 7% of all of the calories that most of us are eating is actually contained in that soybean oil. I'm sure you'll look at the ingredients in a ton of stuff, and you'll see that as one of the main characteristics in the foundation of foods. I mean, we're talking about a lot of produced and fabricated food, right? I want to say, I've seen it on a lot of stuff. I always thought, I'm like, is there soy in this? I look at most stuff that I eat. I try to look at the actual ingredients, and I look at the, exacerbose and ambrose and this and plastic, blah, blah, blah. And I've been trying for the last couple of years since I have, intestinal issues, Crohn's and different stuff going on. I have to watch that stuff. So I have noticed that a lot of stuff had soy in it. And I actually thought it was kind of like a softening of the people, but now I kind of understand. For them to require this is just one of the few changes that is already going into place, and it's only going to get more strict. And by changes, I mean they are trying to change the complete and utter world in just a few years. They want to get rid of gas entirely. That is the end goal. And they want to get rid of a ton of stuff. They want to get rid of gas-powered engines. You see states all over the country offering you money to switch in from your gas-powered mower to an electric one. Even your leaf blowers. There's programs out where you can get like a full credit for that device so you can go and buy yourself an electric leaf blower. That's how, this is just the beginning. We're talking in a few years from now, you will be limited. So steak will be something that's like an extreme, like hors d'oeuvres. They say that in a few years you'll be limited to 8 ounces of beef per month. Wasn't that what it was? And that includes like hamburger, steak, whatever. Imagine that.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like one hamburger.
It was an extreme limitation. And when they talked about the, I want to say what they were trying to protect in the environment based on the output of those animals. So yeah, but soy is everywhere, and it's it's a common crop. But obviously, if it's going to have shortages, that's going to have this huge ripple effect. Everything uses, the most common is vegetable oil, right? Which I think it already said. When you look at it, that's most soy. So, anything that's fried up or uses oil or has it as part of its ingredients, let alone if it just has straight up soy in it, but soy oil too.
Well, and for most people are not, most of us are living paycheck to paycheck. So when you go and what is cheaper? Well, fast food is cheaper. Fast food, I guarantee you, a lot of, especially, fast food restaurants use the soybean oil for probably everything, right? Well, that is even going to go up. So the prices of fast food for those who are already on a budget that have to do fast food, because let's just be real, nice and good food and good quality food is expensive. It's really, really hard to eat good on a low budget. Those that do well, that are on a low budget and eat well, it's actually a talent. It's a skill. And I guarantee you, they cook a lot and they cook, homemade meals. I know that there's probably some of you out there that probably get by on almost nothing and still eat really good, and that's probably because you put hours and hours of work into your meals, because you have to really do everything from scratch to try to eat like that. It's really hard. My piece of advice, just from what I've learned over the last couple of years, is, it's a simple and cliche thing. Whatever you put in is what comes out, right? So you are what you eat is like so true to me, because I noticed right away when I changed my food, everything changes. Your skin changes, your lethargy, everything, your energy, everything about it. So I just, from my personal experience, I ate like crap until I was like 30. For the last 5 years or so, I've been really paying attention to it, but especially the last 3 years since I had all of my intestinal problems. So yeah, this is bad in general, but it's only the beginning. And then we have USS.
And you can go to Chick-fil-A. They use peanut oil. You won't be running into the soy oil there.
I wonder if they have to warn people because of the peanut allergies.
Yeah, I think that they say because of the refined oil process, it doesn't actually cause an allergy, but they tell you to check with your doctor.
Huh. Well,
interesting.
And you said that was Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, and they're really big where I am, so.
Yeah, well, there's lines here.
So.
Well, the first time I had Chick-fil-A was last year, and it amazed me, that chicken sandwich. My wife was like, it was so hyped up that she said it wasn't like, it's hyped up as she thought it was. I thought it was. That chicken sandwich is the bomb, but I still have not tried Popeyes. I think it was Chick-fil-A and Popeyes, or who was having the battle? Somebody was having.
Popeyes came out and battled them recently in the last few years, but yeah, Chick-fil-A's had it since I was a kid. I mean, they've been out forever, but yeah.
The sauce.
They say they didn't invent the chicken; they just invented the chicken sandwich.
Well, they invented that sauce. That Chick-fil-A sauce is where it's at. I always get tons of that. Okay. Anyways, USS Portland uses its experimental laser to fry a floating target in the Middle East. That floating target was. Oh, darn it. It wasn't Hunter. Oh, shoot. The amphibious warship Portland has the most powerful laser currently deployed aboard an operational vessel. Again, this is a laser, like something out of Star Wars. This thing is so powerful, and something that I do know, and lasers are going to be a huge thing. It's kind of crazy when you think of Star Wars and all these sci-fi kind of predictions of what our future would be like. But I personally know my sister's ex-boyfriend, who he was Air Force, and he was like Air Force Reserves, or he was still technically in the Air Force and working at Boeing. And he ended up getting taken into the Space Force. But he couldn't say much about it, but he did talk about these lasers, and they're making these incredibly powerful lasers that could cut through buildings. I mean, you could cut a house in half. These things are insane. And he said that would be the future of weaponry. Lasers is going to be everything in just a short few years. Not even, probably very, very soon. So imagine, and then imagine, this is one thing that I never thought of. If you had a vehicle with some sort of mirror or some sort of reflective thing, think of a drone. So one of the problems is a laser can only get what it sees. Well, imagine if it could bounce off of something in space and hit a target anywhere in the world. That's what they're talking about. Of course, you could have a laser mounted in space like a rod of God, but we're talking about a two-part system where you have a ship that has a drone or a launchable that has some sort of reflective tool that comes out and then reflects onto its target. Sounds crazy, but I believe that is something that hasn't even been. I believe that's something that they haven't even come out with yet. But watch for that. And then it says the U.S. Navy's San Antonio class amphibious transport dock ship USS Portland engaged a static surface training target with its laser directed energy weapon. Remember, directed energy was a theory. It was a conspiracy theory for a long time. I know people that were deleted for talking about DE, right? It's still, I don't know how if they removed that as one of the filter things, but if you talked about that, you were a wacko. And now, of course, it's true. This is one of the many things, it's like the internet has been right about so many things over the years. It kind of makes you think, that saying, oh, you heard it on the internet, it must be true. Maybe it's not as sarcastic as you think. But anyways, it says that this ship received this weapon, which is officially called the Laser Weapon System Demonstrator Mark II Mod 0, or Mod O. Sounds like this literally sounds like a weapon that you would upgrade to in like Red Alert 2 or something. In late 2019, which the war zone was first to report, and I believe we actually covered this back then, and subsequently used it to knock down a small drone in a demonstration in the Pacific Ocean the following year. Portland is presently in the Middle E with as part of the Essex Amphibious Ready Group, which also includes the Wasp-class amphibious assault ship USS Essex and the Harper's Ferry-class dock landing ship USS Pearl Harbor. It says elements of the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit are embarked across all 3 of those ships. So they've got some serious firepower over there. It says the U.S. Navy described Portland's laser as having engaged a raft-like floating target during the demonstration. It is unclear how much physical damage the directed energy weapon actually did to the target, or whether it was considered destroyed as a result. The maximum effective range of the laser is unknown, but the images from this latest test do make clear that the beam can hit targets at a not insignificant distance away from the ship. So they're playing with their toys out in the sea. Lasers are going to be a huge part, especially for drone defense. And drones and swarm drones are one of our biggest enemies now. China and Russia are both developing extremely intelligent AI drones. If you remember, the Pentagon chief officer who just resigned, said in his leaving statement that he was that we were behind and that there was no way to catch up. It was something like once they were ahead, that there's no getting caught up to them. So he said directly, and he's in that position, said that China is ahead of us in AI and in that sort of technology, which means that means they'll be ahead of us in this drone AI technology. That's a scary thought. Luckily, hopefully we get ahead in this laser technology, which I know we've been working on since way before this came out publicly. So, it's like you hear something about China being so much farther than us in one thing, but who knows? We might be 10 times farther than them in lasers, which it doesn't matter if they have the best AI drones, if we have the best AI drone defense. Who knows, though? Dex, did you have anything to say?
What I think is interesting is we actually get to see pictures. So back to the first 2 pictures here that are in that red hue. Those are legitimate pictures of this event, not like an artist rendition, which is kind of cool. And the other thing that got me thinking, since they're shooting this across the surface, I wonder, and I don't wonder, I actually know, like laser light will refract through water. So like you can't necessarily go through the water, but it also tells me that if you're on the surface, it may be splashing water or creating a large water wall, if you want to call it that, would maybe be a defense against this.
I wonder how, I guess I wonder if it was super powerful, if you put it in the water, if it would refract multiple or many different ways. You wonder if there was a way they could do a laser in water, because if you could, as you're going forward, remember mines were a big thing in WW2. A ship would go through, and if you accidentally hit a mine, boom, you would get sent sky high. I wonder if lasers will have a part in kind of underwater defense somehow. Is there a way to do lasers underwater if it's completely underwater? I just wonder. That's actually that's an interesting thought, Dex. As far as
it really does when you think about it. When you're underwater and you look up at the light coming through, it is so diluted out. It's so refracted into many different areas that it just destroys the light beam. So
it's like a prism.
An easy defense like this. If you're in the sky, it's not like you can run around with a water bottle and throw it out the plane. But going across the water, if you're in a small ship and you're being attacked, I think there could be an easy defense of a water wall or something.
Or or glass, multiple angled glass like a prism, and have it deflected away. I'm sure they're probably working on defenses like that. True Technique says, "What's good, Foogle fam? Salute to Marf, Dex, and all of y'all listening. Peep my channel sometime. # good music." True Technique, I definitely did. I didn't realize you had one. Frankie Rios, Michael Hastings, Seth Rich, Julian Assange. I pray not. Yeah, well, again, stroke. Who didn't see that one coming? Oh, wait. No one didn't see that coming. All of us saw it. In fact, we did a survey on our show before. We said, is he going to disappear out of jail? Is he going to be hurt before he comes? Or is he going to be safely whisked away to a U.S. prison? Yeah, a lot of us called that. Or at least thought something was going to happen with that. Assange having a stroke because he was stressed. He was stressed out after he ate that last jail time meal. There's a little bit of powder in my water. That's not powder, that's Kool-Aid. Just drink it and forget everything. Go back to the Matrix. The Matrix. The Matrixes. The Matrix. Too long? Probably. Tossed error. Hi, everyone. IMF stream only had 5 people in chat last night. Where is everyone? It's a direct way to voice our opinions. IMF. Huh. IMF. I'm blanking. Ariel the Wrestling Mermaid. Merry early Christmas, everybody, from Ariel and Mike. Hey, thanks. And I like how you guys do that as like a family message to the family. That's really cool. Kim Edwards, again, thank you as well. And then David Kilmary, thank you for joining. Welcome to the Mafia. Remember, also subscribe to the main channel. It's closing in on 200,000 subscribers. We're less than 250 away. In fact, I believe we're about 200 away. So make sure to subscribe over there. And if you can, Love Mob, I'm asking you, if you haven't already for whatever random reason and you're new here, remember we have a second channel. Our main channel is the same spelling as this, Marfoogle News, only without TV, with news. Make sure to go over and subscribe. When we get to 200, well, we're going to do something special this time. And going to talk to some of my friends in the YouTube world. Maybe we'll do a show or something. It is a big milestone. Tara Belay 3 says, hi, I'm out. I'm on D-Live and YouTube. Get yourself a dehydrator. Just dried 5 bags, 89 cents of frozen veggies. Made powder, also milk, egg powder, so easy and cheap. Merry Christmas. Tara Belay, yes, I was actually looking at one of the videos that Canadian Prepper put out. One of his dehydrators is just insanely expensive, though. I just wish there was a way you could do it more affordably. All right, and then speaking of which, perfect timing. Again, if you have not already, if you want to get just pre-packaged, if you do not have the time or the skills to do the amazing stuff you have to do to make your own MREs, you can always just get it done and ready to store on your shelves. You can actually get short and long-term survival food from My Patriot Supply at marfooglenews.com/prep. Not only is it easy and it's just all done for you, it is, of course, you get a discount. You can actually get 3 months of food at $100 off using our link, marfooglenews.com/prep. But on top of that, once you go here, you'll see that they have water filtration, air purification, survival gear, cooking gear, and tools, power and lighting, stoves, fuel, lighters, everything. It is a one-stop shop for everything survival related. And then on top of that, you'll be helping us at the same time. Not only will you get most likely a discount on most things, but you'll also be helping your favorite channel. So make sure to head over there if you can. If again, this is for the folks that that cannot do it themselves. Again, if you cannot afford this, though, not everybody has a ton of money. There are plenty of resources to make low or affordably costed as far as survival food. And a few of those creators, like Alaska Prepper, does like payday preps. Great resource for it. But if you do want to have just a straight up supply, and again, the prices are going up and up and up and up and have not gone down once, make sure to go over and check that out. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/prep. And then Jessa Lynn, thank you. And I appreciate Bird's Eye Video. Thanks to Marf and Dex for keeping us informed. To the mods for making the chat a nice place to be. Have a great Christmas, and here's hoping for a miracle year in 22. Yes, I hope it's going to be a miracle year, but I foresee that it might be a little bit of a train wreck. Israel's request to speed delivery of KC-46 tankers critical. Force Iran denied. The KC-46As would go a long way to bolstering IS's already small and dwindling tanker fleet. Check that thing out. And look at those desert-colored planes. It says the U.S. government has reportedly declined requests from IS officers to accelerate the delivery of KC-46A Pegasus aerial refueling tankers, citing a backlog at the manufacturer that is a result of technical and quality control issues. That is a result, of course, it says the same reports say that IS authorities have been particularly keen on to get these aircraft sooner rather than later, given the critical role they would play in potential airstrikes on Iran's nuclear enterprise. Dex,
So
what do you think?
I was wondering here if this is just the public story, and if the U.S. is basically saying, yeah, we can't give these up right now because we're going to need them.
I thought the same
we're
exact
putting
thing.
production out.
I thought the same exact thing, Dex. It's like, and they're saying that it's quality control. Okay, please. They have these things down to a T. I would believe before that it would be like, the mandate or something. But I would not believe that it's because of the quality control or something like this. This says to me, like, maybe we need to keep those Pegasus, which also, think about this, Dex. Think about how just 2 Saturdays ago we saw all of these different cargo planes. And remember, they have now said that we have to use our cargo planes in a WW3 because we need the biggest Air Force we can possibly get. And they have retrofitted recently, just super recently, they've started retrofitting all of these other kinds of missiles to be launched out of the back of planes just like this. So they would drop it out the back and then it would take off and it would hit its target. They're using cargo planes in the next big conflict for missiles, huge missiles. So this has got my spidey senses tingling. The New York Times published a story on the deliberations between U.S. and IS officials over the KC-46A delivery schedule, as well as the impetus behind the IS government's desire to speed up the timetable. Yesterday, that built on an initial report on the tanker delivery plans from the IS newspaper Yedioth Ahronoth. There have already been growing indications that IS's government, under its new Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, might be looking at least to revive the threat of strikes against Iran nuclear sites, something the country's military is reportedly now more actively training to do. So we're talking about multiple places in the world are about to trigger some stuff. If IS is going to attack their nuclear facilities, we're talking about, this is multiple hotspots all over the world, and it looks like everyone is digging their heels in. For those that that are just completely asleep to the fact that this is about to happen, I would say stop focusing on some of the stuff that's local and look at what's going on in the world. It's very, very clear that there are big things happening right now. They speeded up. They started 2 years ago speeding up the production of the missiles. Places like Raytheon and Northrop Grumman had missiles out in the frickin' parking lot. Dex, wasn't it Raytheon that they had so many missiles that they were putting them out in the parking lot?
Yes,
and they were making them,
and they had miles of trucks loaded up, lined up to get them all out.
And they were making them at it was one humongous truck-size missile per minute and a half. I think it was 1 minute and 30 seconds. They were making a new one. We know that because somebody from Raytheon told us that. It was someone who worked at Raytheon. And it was confirmed later. We ended up having an article that proved it. So again, that was something that I believe that one was a story we broke as well. And that was from a caller. That was from a Foogle fam, a Marfia member. All right. And then we have IS targets I would strike if IS makes just one wrong move. The Times reveals a list of IS targets that would strike if IS makes just one wrong move. Now, for those that are vision impaired, IS and are, again, I ran to the store. It says, newspaper, the Tehran Times, has revealed a list of IS targets that the country would strike if IS makes just one wrong move. A map published on the English newspapers. Let me make this a little bigger for you that aren't vision impaired. A map published on the English language newspaper's front page on Wednesday showed pins representing rocket strike locations for dozens of potential targets in IS, as well as some of the Lebanese territory and Palestinian cities in the West Bank. The picture was part of a front page article with the headline, "Just One Wrong Move." An intensification of IS military against R seems to suggest that the regime has forgotten that R is more capable of hitting them from anywhere. That, of course, is not me saying that. That is the paper that wrote in the article's opening paragraph. Remember, that is the certain side, right? It added that the paper doesn't need to remind the illegitimate regime of IS of Iran's defense capabilities. The threatening article ended with a 2013 quote from our Supreme Leader Al Khamenei, who said, "I would destroy Tel Aviv and Haifa if Israel makes a mistake and conducts a military strike against them." So, Dex, we basically have both sides threatening each other. We see a lot of that, obviously, in the past and all the time. But I guess this would be a little bit different because now they are actually making the moves behind the scenes to actually do this. They had the underground city of missiles, and then is basically trying to get ready. Go ahead.
Yeah, take a look at the picture of this newspaper. This is, I mean, literally, like, put this in your mind. This is the front page of the paper. So if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see it. And they literally put the pin dots on all of the locations. Now one of the things to think about is, the country that I ran to the store, they're very unconventional. So it's not like they're just going to, lob a bunch of conventional things over from their country through the sky and hit this location. You're going to see, all of these unconventional things happen, whether they are, smaller rockets, things like that, like we've seen from over the wall, so to speak, or inside, jobs happening through their network of type of people, right? So that's, they have that, which is a little different than the conventional side of what the IS country would be doing, right?
Yes, absolutely. But here's one thing, though. I think that they are getting help from outside sources, and there are certain. I've gotten a couple of messages from people I actually trust that they say that they got some high-tech stuff from other places, as far as like that Russia was giving them some stuff on the back door. So you've got another country was basically helping them and backing them up. But some of them are afraid that they may have gotten their hands already on a nuclear device. Now, of course, everybody in the world is watching them as far as them getting their own kind of nuclear production up. But what if they already had stuff? Dex, isn't that kind of a freaky thought if they end up getting their hands on any of the, many, many missing nukes that are around the planet?
Yeah, that is a scary thought. And, depending on how they could make use of it. Obviously, they have ambitions to have that type of capability, and that's why they've been, working so diligently towards increasing their uranium production and the type of uranium that they can produce.
Well, we'll follow it, and I have a feeling that one day we'll just have, obviously, a clash between those two countries. Hopefully, that doesn't cause a kind of a world event. When it does happen, it'll happen very all of a sudden. Sounds like, though, that they are waiting on those planes. Putin and Xi show united front amid rising tensions with the U.S. President B may have his alliance with democracies, but Russia and China still have each other. They are best friends. Xi Jinping addressed Vladimir Putin as his old friend, and the Russian president called his Chinese counterpart his dear friend and his honorable friend. as the two leaders held a video summit on Wednesday, a display of solidarity in the face of Western pressure over Ukraine, Taiwan, and many other matters. I mean, it's pretty clear. It's like they're getting ready on the front of Ukraine, and then China's getting ready on the front of Taiwan. The fact that they're both doing it at the same time and they're both having this kind of relationship, this what takes away from that other side where I do understand if we were Russia, if the U.S. had Russia and all of their allies team up with Mexico and then were able to put their missiles right on our border, I bet you the U.S. would be pretty against that as well, right? And that's essentially what would happen if NATO, if Ukraine does join NATO, then NATO and our allied forces could be able to go in there and have missiles and everything else there legitly. And that would not be good, including defensive stuff. I mean, Dex, doesn't that mean couldn't we technically put like an Iron Dome system there or something? I mean, would that be?
Yeah, we could. If we could do anything, we would. We or the NATO groups could get together and do anything they wanted in that area.
So, I mean, that's why it kind of takes away from that the fact that they are doing so much practice to do this, and they would be taking Ukraine. But if they take Ukraine, then, of course, NATO would not be able to put their stuff there. Might give them a buffer zone. Right now, as it sits, not being NATO members, they have Ukraine there. As far as China and Taiwan, the whole world is looking at both of these countries, and if it looks like they're going to take them at the same time. It says, in footage of opening remarks released by the Kremlin, Mr. Putin said that he would attend the opening ceremony of the Beijing Olympics in February, making him the first leader of another country to confirm he would come to the event that Mr. President B has already pledged to boycott, as the leaders of Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and others. Mr. Z, noting that he was meeting Mr. Putin for the 37th time since 2013, praised the Russian president for thwarting attempts to drive a wedge between our country. It says he said that the two countries were defending the true meaning of democracy and human rights. I mean, like, that's a funny joke. Winnie the Pooh's got jokes. First of all, them meeting 37 times.
Use that word. That makes no sense. How can what the CCP stands for? How can he say they're democracy? That's
what I said. He's got jokes. It's almost like he's
just crazy.
Well, let me ask you this, Dex. 37 times since what is that? 8 years? In 8 years, 37 times. What?
Yeah, they're plotting and planning, and there's no no way for I know we've said, oh well, Russia will hitch its wagon to whoever gives it the best deal. Well, it's clear whose wagon they're hitched to. There is no more best deals. These two are working in concert together, obviously meeting 37 times. Obviously dear old friends. And thinking that they are the epitome of democracy.
Again, 37 times in 8 years for presidents to go and visit each other, to physically go and see each other. That's a whole lot to not be working with each other. Kim Edwards, I think, what in the world? Kim Edwards, thank you. Thank you. You didn't even write a message here. I appreciate you, Kim Edwards. Appreciate your support. Thank you for supporting Independent. Again, thank you. Next time, write a message or write anything on there. That Gen X dude told you, Marf, no C5s here, just Blackhawks. That Gen X dude, I think he did say that, right? Dehydrators are inexpensive, under $100. Canadian Prepper has a freeze dryer. That's what it was. It's different, very expensive. Much love, Foogle fam. Ilea, you are totally right. I'm thinking of that tall one that he had multiple stages on. That thing was insane. But I looked up the price of it and I was like, that's unbelievable. It's very expensive to do prep right. It's just insane. JT says, Marf, the fifth generation messes with precision guidance and landing systems on all aircraft through the Mode C and the transponder, So any severe weather. So does any severe weather. Dex, so JT says that
what he's talking about.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got it. So what he's talking about and what was in that article, but I don't know if we made it clear about the generation that they're launching, that they've already launched. Everybody says, oh, we've already got it, right? And that's true. They have it. They're just using a different frequency. So they're opening up the C-band. The C-band is what's being opened up, was supposed to be opened up in the beginning of this month, but now it's pushed back to January 5th. That's what they were talking about. And that C-band gives, and I just looked this up a few minutes ago, it gives about a half a mile distance, which is huge. That's a lot further than what they were getting with the other locations and the previous bands that they were working with in this same fifth of the generations of technology. So this C-band is really important to the telcos because it allows them to, reach a broad audience across these cities. But it is obviously much more powerful because it does go so much further, and that's why the FAA and the aviation industry is so concerned with the way it's going to conflict with the bands that they use for their instruments, and especially around landing and low visibility controls, stuff like that.
Wow. So I wonder if they have to shut off local 5th generation stuff while they have landings or constantly, or how do they even do that? Or do they work around it, or do they use it? Or I don't understand that.
It's probably only been tested on paper, right? And maybe they've tested it in a few locations, but it sounds like it hasn't been tested enough to make the people in the aviation industry comfortable, right? So they're like, when you turn this on, you're going to see a problem, and I guess we'll find out who's right and who's wrong, or they will, slow their roll and go back and do more testing.
Well, most definitely pretty crazy there. I want to say a special thank you to Life is Better on Stilts over on D-Live, showing D-Love, keeping the D-Love community over there totally awake and up. Thank you. Never, ever lose your sense of humor, says Life is Better on Stilts. Laughter is essential. And Scooby-Doo Right says, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Thank you for joining us on D-Live. Life is Better on Stilts. Thank you for gifting out Marfia badges to several people, including Tabby Cat, the Naughty Gypsy, Skyhouse, and 100% Mo over on D-Live. Thank you. And then Jammer One, thank you again for being here and modding. Gem, thank you again. Thank your mods right now. Put an M in the chat for people like Lisa R. Hall and Jay Stone. And of course, we've got Trinity and we've got all sorts of Rip Curl. I have not seen Rip Curl in a while. I wanted to shout out Rip Curl. Bones is always an awesome guy. If you guys haven't checked out his channel, make sure to go do so. And then, thank you, everybody. Make sure you got your pets a tinfoil hat, says Scooby-Doo Right. BMZIQ, thank you. And then 37,000 followers over on D-Live. Thank you, guys. I thank you for that, and I appreciate you, all of you over there. Let's see here. And then NK executes people for watching K-pop, rights group says. Well, we saw them, of course, do that for, what was it a couple weeks ago?
Squid Game.
Squid Game, yes. So they actually did a real-life Squid Game. That was the name of the show we did, with someone who smuggled in the actual show Squid Game. Now they are saying that they are publicly executing at least 7 people in the past decade for watching or distributing K-pop, like BTS. That would be considered K-pop. So your local radio hit BTS, the 7 little girls that, or guys, sorry, and then that, you would die in NK. It says that as it cracks down on what its leader, Kim Jong-un, calls a vicious cancer, according to a human rights report released on Wednesday. The group, Transitional Justice Working Group, which is based in Seoul, interviewed 683 NK defectors since 2015 to help map places in the north where people were taken and buried in state-sanctioned public In its latest report, the group said it had documented at least 23 such exit under Mr. Kim's government. So just remember, and I just want to take a moment to say I am super blessed to live where I am and to be born. I have so many complaints about so many things, but at the same time, I am so blessed to have been born where I was in America and here. And I bet most of you, after seeing something like this, understand that you may be blessed even in a more strict place like Australia right now, or of course Austria, or of course Zealand, right? A lot of these places that are more strict, even, not to say that it's right. We should go back to 100% or as close to freedom as we can. But at the same time, I do feel blessed. And I do think about that when I see stuff like this. I just think, man, it's like, this is why when I look at it, I think of my daughters, and I think of how, they used to say like, oh, eat all the food on your plate. Somebody is starving somewhere else. That's more of a value than anything else. And to think about that, people have it harder other places. That's criminally insane. I don't know why we are not, if we're going to take out a country, why are we taking out these other weird countries? Take out a country that's doing that shit. You get what I'm saying? Why can't they just get rid of it? Well, because they're backed by China. And why? Because it's a buffer zone between SK and, of course, China. So people like China are backing this up. And guess what? What are we doing? Oh, well, yeah, we're supporting China. In fact, we're sending billions of dollars there. Companies like BlackRock, which your retirement fund is probably invested in, they're putting all of their money in a different country. China, our enemy, our technical adversary. How is this possible? Money, it corrupts everything. If there was no money corruption, there would be no investing in an adversary's country. Doesn't make any sense, does it, Dex?
No, it doesn't at all. And it's, but it is obvious that NK is allowed to be who they are because of China. They've got that support. And then they also, through their connections with China and Russia, developed their, nuclear arsenal, their EMP capabilities, showed off many years ago, not just recently, but many years ago, that they could, launch FOBs and put a fractional orbital bombardment system launch that could be that would not necessarily be detected by, America. So, all of that technology, they didn't develop because they don't listen to K-pop. They got that from their partners, China and Russia.
Yep. And we're supporting them. We're sending money to them. Your retirement fund is most likely invested in China, or at least Chinese owned companies. And then the chief just issued a critical CV warning. Really, this is, it's like boom, 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 scare, 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 get this, get this, get this. Okay? Pretty much sums that up. If you want to read this article, you can over at our website. The main point is it's booting up, and it's only getting worse and worse, or at least the results from it are. It's going to be very clear. I want to make sure people follow me over on Twitter at Marfoogle. I speak a little bit more of my mind over there, and I can so, or if it, something goes wrong, I don't care. And go over there because I've got stuff to say over the next couple of days. What was that, Dex?
Yeah, I was just going to say, about your Twitter. That's where you told everybody about the intel you had gotten from somebody inside that said, hey, all this is going to start up after Black Friday. And here we are continuing, day after day, now week after week after that event, and seeing how this escalation is happening, right? And it's happening in a big way. And this is, this warning is to prepare everybody for January, and saying, it's coming in a bad way. And that's exactly what we were told would happen from some pretty high up sources.
And people didn't believe me on Twitter. They questioned. It was a week before. It was 8 or 9 days before Black Friday. And when I said that, I basically said that we would be following Australia, right? People say, "Oh, I think you mean Austria. You mean Austria, not Australia, Austria." And I said, "No, Australia, not Austria." Austria was doing a full-on send people to a place, which now I think Australia has anyways. And who knows, maybe when they were telling me that, maybe they already knew what Australia was going to do. But no, it was exactly what it said. It wasn't lockdowns. It wasn't this. It said that we were going to be following in the footsteps of all of these different restrictions, right? Nobody believed me. I said the day after it would all start. And boom, Saturday morning, press conference. OMI just came out. We discovered it on the 9th. It's bad. It's here. It happened the day after. And I told you guys that source has never led me astray, ever. And I said, sorry, unfortunately, this person has never led me astray and has been right every single time. So when I do say, I'm usually quoting that same source, there's been 3 times where it's just boom, it's on. They are lining us up for January and February for the conflict with Russia and Ukraine. That's what Intel and all of this other stuff. As far as what we are seeing here, the pattern is from all of these stories is that they're lining us up for January for the big bad CV. So hopefully that's not true. As far as that source, I will keep you guys updated. It will almost always be over on Twitter, not here. So make sure to head over there and follow me on Twitter. It's at Marfoogle. If you don't have a Twitter, understand that is actually a good place once you understand how it works. It is an incredible place to get information. A lot of people didn't understand. I didn't understand when I first got on it because I was like, why would you care if somebody wrote 160 words? But then you start realizing people can share pictures, people can share videos, people can share, of course, opinions or statements. And almost every politician, every celebrity, every person is on it. So you can go to any person and see what they're talking about at that time. And it's especially important for like DOD and DHS and DEF CON and all that stuff is over there. So you see them raising the levels and all you see all the stuff over there. So join Twitter if you haven't already. Make sure to follow me at Marfoogle. Stuff is getting crazier, and especially through this winter. If you don't want to be tracked and traced, I do want to remind you, you can go over to marfooglenews.com/offgrid. Again, for the 200,000, I believe, I'm going to be giving one of these away. I haven't figured out how I'm going to do who gets it, but I'm going to give one of the bags, the backpacks away. Might even give away one of the duffel bags. I actually, I ordered another one for a family member. So I am actually, I believe, and I paid my own money. I got one for free. I'm going to give that one away, and I am actually going to get another one. I really love this bag. I'm going to let you guys know this is one of the best bags I've ever owned. The backpack basically can protect your laptop, your tablet, your cell phone, your fobs, not only from being tracked or traced, but it can also protect them in the event of an electromagnetic event. Anything that's in these contained little areas are protected from that. Not only that, if you put different things in there, they can't be hacked or accessed and everything else. This is the same company that worked for years, doing this for FBI. These were like evidence bags and bags for investigators' laptops and things, so they couldn't be hacked. So bad actors couldn't access their information. Now they make stuff for civilians. Amazing stuff. Again, marfooglenews.com/offgrid. That duffel bag is one big, basically Faraday bag. So make sure to go over and check it out. Use the code Marfoogle for an extra discount. And then also that helps us. That ends up helping us out. They give us a commission of a sale. If you go and buy something, they give us a tiny % and you a discount. So we both win, and you help an independent media. But again, I've thought about it, and I was like, yeah, it's definitely. I'm going to give one of the very. I mean, they're really high quality. They're not cheap. So I'm going to give one of these bags away when we hit 200,000, which should be today, tomorrow, or the next day. So make sure to get over there. Make sure to subscribe over to marfooglenews.com. And then Dex, would you like to talk about some of the crazy stuff going on here?
Why, yes, I would. So head over to marfooglenews.com and click on the thumbnail for today's show. Scroll down to web-only content. You'll get the rest of the story. So everything else we couldn't talk about, maybe it's too hot for TV, maybe it's too far-sighted or political. Take a look. There's plenty going on. some more information about one of the former opponent in the Dem space. Clinton is got more stuff happening there that people are talking about. Take a look there. Also, a large grocery chain has made some big changes that are going to affect people that work for them. Interesting to see. And plenty of other political stuff, even something about Flynn. So go take a look, marfooglenews.com. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen the Elon Musk tweet with Senator Warren, that's kind of funny as well. You can get to that as well as everything else at marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show and scroll down to that web-only content. And if you're on YouTube, just open the description, first link. And if you're in chat, the link will be there shortly.
Absolutely. And again, make sure to go over and check it out. Appreciate it, each and every one of you. Thank you, especially over there on DLive. Thank you. Life is better on stilts. Defrustrated says, mods rock. Thank you, fam. Merry Christmas, all. Tina Vargo, thank you. So as a kind of a final note here, I wanted to say that there's a lot of stuff going on. And as far as there's a lot of things lining up that are almost Deagle.com-ish. Now, if you have not looked into, what is it, the Georgia Guidestones, highly recommend you go read what they actually say. It almost seems like there are things lining up to make sure that we reduce the amount of people here on the planet. And I actually kind of think like people like Elon Musk, who are saying that people need to have as many children as possible for the human race to survive. It's kind of telling. So again, I hope that we are not marked for deletion. But again, we can keep fighting back by spreading information and making sure that we have our eyes open and we don't, we're not susceptible to the constant waves of brainwashing that are everywhere. They live or they're alive, whatever that movie was. It couldn't be more true. We have subliminal messaging all around us, constant every 30 seconds, flashing us pictures of what what to watch. You know what I'm saying? And just I see it all the time. I'm on TV and then all of a sudden they flash me something and what was that? You get my drift though. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out. Dex, thank you so much for all your service tonight. Appreciate you.
Much love. Great show, brother.
It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Mr. Big Gas with the Jim Jam, United Hearts, America, and Sam Fam.
CJC family. Amy and Amy Harley. Hey, we the Priscilla R. Bring it right back in and go real far. Aaron on the Mitchell, don't wanna leave us. Terror be like 3 and everybody with us.
Remember to join us over on Marfoogle Jams. When the show stops here, it goes right over to Marfoogle Jams, our third channel. Make sure to subscribe to Marfoogle News, Marfoogle Jams, and Marfoogle TV for your chance to win an off-grid bag.
I was sitting down low, going back on the stand low. Just gonna live terribly like get yourself a dehydrated bag. Hey, we'll eat all night. Stop projecting on the book won't run. Hey, everybody love you. Do it right there, family. Live to give. Oh, go, no, go. Hey, 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 hey. Got my rights on lock. Got my right side guard. When they come and knock, step inside and they drop. Got my rights on lock. Got my right side guard. When they come and knock, step inside and they drop. Got my rights on lock. Got my right side guard. When they come and knock, step inside and they drop.
EMP Shield, thank you for supporting tonight. I appreciate you. Andrew, make sure to go check out Andrew's channel. Dex, if you are there, we should put Andrew's channel on tonight's show. He's an awesome guy. He is literally a real dude over at EMP Shield. He is extremely awesome. Kim Edwards.
Kim Edwards.
Kim Edwards. I said Kim Edwards. I said Kim Edwards.
I said Kim Edwards. Kim Edwards. Kim Edwards. Kim Edwards. Kim Edwards. Bird's Eye Video. Thank you so much.
It'll go away. I wish I could tell you that everything's gonna be okay. I wish I could snap and make it all go